Hello students, warm welcome again, and in this video I am continuing the discussions about the digestion and absorption in human. So some parts I had covered in my last video, and in this video I am trying to discuss about the parts of the digestive organs and the digestion in little detail. So parts of the organs like stomach, in the alimentary canal, we start with stomach. So stomach, the first region is the cardiac region, and then the fundic region, followed by the body, and then the pyloric region. So cardiac region is the region where the esophagus or the food pipe is opening into the stomach. Then it is followed by the fundic region of the stomach and the body of the stomach. Finally, the pyloric region, where through this region only it is entering into the small intestine. So these are the parts, regions of the stomach. This is clear. Now, the pyloric region, as I said, through which it is entering into the small intestine. So there has to be a sphincter, which is called the pyloric sphincter, right? After 2-3 hours, the food, the semi-digested food will pass into, and this food is called what? Is called the chyme. Now it is passing into the small intestine. So small intestine through the pyloric valve, and this small intestine is having again its own parts. Which are the parts of small intestine? You have to remember always at this grade. That is the first part is duodenum, then is the jejunum, and then it is the ileum, where the digestion is mostly being completed, taking place and completed here in the ileum, and absorbed also, right? So this is the parts of the small intestine, and then it will join the large intestine, and this large intestine is also having its parts. Which are the parts of large intestine? You have to remember, those are the cecum, the colon, and the rectum. So finally the alimentary canal is ending here at the rectum, right? Now what about the layers of the walls of this alimentary canal? There are layers, right? What are the layers? Those are serosa, muscularis, submucosa, and mucosa. So like this, very interestingly, you have to remember these parts. Okay? The names can be, slightly bigger, but when you take interest in the topic, nothing is difficult, right? So you have to remember the names. What are the names of the layers of this alimentary canal? The walls. Layers are where? The walls. So these are the serosa, muscularis, submucosa, mucosa, right? Again, these layers are modified in different parts of the alimentary canal. Okay, so this is about the parts of the different organs in the alimentary canal, students. Right? Now, how absorption is taking place? So absorption is taking place because of the villi, the finger-like projections which are there on the intestinal walls. It is increasing the surface area for absorption. So they are having very small tissues which are called the microvilli, right? They are helping in the absorption, okay? And these villi is also having a duct which is the lacteal, which is called the lacteals, and lacteals are absorbing what? The digested fat. What is the form of the digested fat? Those are fatty acids and glycerol. So these finger-like projections are there, the diagrams are there in your book of villi also, and this is supplied with a number of blood capillaries. Why? Ultimately, this absorption is taking place for what? To go into the blood only. So how it will go? Through these capillaries. So all this diffusion and absorption will take place, and these digested food or the ingredients will go into the blood, because the villi is supplied with a lot of blood capillaries, right? Now, there are crypts at the base of the villi, which are called the that area. Okay, that is called the islets of liver coon. Okay, these crypts of liver coon, they are called the crypts of liver coon. Huh? And islets of Langerhans are there in the pancreas. When we talk about the pancreatic gland, digestive glands, so islets of Langerhans are there, which are secreting the hormone, which is the endocrine function of the pancreas. Now here it is the crypts of liver coon, where at the basis of the villi, between the bases of the villi, in the intestine. Okay, this is clear. So this name you have to remember. This is crypts of liver coon. Okay. Now about the digestive gland, I just referred. Which are they? Liver. First of all, let us talk about salivary glands, then liver, and then pancreas. These are the main digestive glands. Okay, saliva, fine. There are number of salivary glands in the buccal cavity, but there are three major pairs. Which are they? They are submandibular, they are parotid, and then they are pair of sublingual salivary glands, which are secreting saliva having the enzyme amylase. So it is starting the digestion of the starch. Most of the time we are taking starch. So starch abruptly cannot be digested into glucose. So step by step it will happen. So first step is happening in the mouth only by the enzyme amylase. Okay, it is converting the complex starch into disaccharide. Starch is what? Starch is polysaccharide. It is being converted into disaccharide. So this is the middle step. So disaccharide is maltose. So now in the mouth, the starch has been converted into maltose. Okay, fine. So this is the secretion of the salivary gland having this enzyme amylase. Okay. Now, liver, we come to liver, another very important digestive gland, because it is producing bile, which is doing what? Firstly and foremostly, it is converting the medium of the chyme into alkaline, because chyme is acidic in the stomach, because there HCl is there. So if HCl is there in the stomach, I discussed this in my first video, that it is killing the bacteria which has come along with the food and also making the medium acidic for the action of pepsin, which can only work in acidic medium. Fine, okay, stomach portion is over now. Now the food has entered into the intestine, where the intestinal juice and the pancreatic juice will pour in the enzymes which are active only in alkaline medium. How this medium will be changed? By the bile produced by the liver. So bile is having bicarbonates. So that is why it is changing the medium of the chyme, and so that the enzymes of the pancreatic juice and also the intestinal juice can be effective. Clear? And another thing bile does is emulsifies or breaks the fat molecules into simpler forms, smaller forms. So for helping in the digestion of the fat. So these two major things, are being done by the bile, which is being produced by the liver. So liver is very, very important. Okay, and there are in the gastric wall there are mucosa which is preventing the gastric walls from erosion by the effect of HCl. So these are the liver is a very important gland, and then we come to pancreas. As I said, the pancreas is having double role. So in many books and many cinemas, you see double roles of stars. So here the pancreas is also a star which is having a double role. A small part is endocrine and another major part is exocrine. Exocrine means having duct, secreting digestive enzymes, which is called pancreatic enzymes, trypsin, amylase, lipase, and the endocrine portion, which is secreting hormone, insulin and glucagon. So this endocrine portion is called the islets of Langerhans, and they are secreting the hormones glucagon and insulin. Insulin converting the glucose into glycogen as storage, and the glucagon converting back glycogen into glucose whenever there is a need. So this is the function of the very important function of the pancreas. So if something goes wrong with the pancreas, it's very difficult for proper digestion, for proper maintenance of life processes. So that is why it is said that pancreas is the most important organ in our body, right? So these are the three salivary glands, and there is a sphincter of Oddi also, and this sphincter, where it is, in a book there it has been mentioned that the hepatic duct from the liver forms the common bile duct, and the bile duct and the pancreatic duct open together into the duodenum as the common hepatopancreatic duct, which is guarded by a sphincter. The common pancreatic duct, the common hepatic pancreatic duct, because duct is coming from liver, duct is also coming from pancreas, okay? So it is regulated is guarded by a sphincter called the sphincter of Oddi. So these are the terms which you have to remember in these grades, students. In the figure 16.6, you see this diagram, which is very important. You see a gallbladder there, where the bile is stored. There is a duct which is coming and joining the small intestine. There is a duct from common duct, which is called the common bile duct. Okay, and here the liver duct from liver is also joining this duct, so it is the common bile duct, and common hepatic duct is also shown here, and the hepatopancreatic duct is also being shown in this figure with the intestine. So digestion of food, when we talk about, it is the protein which has to be digested into amino acids finally. The starch has to be digested into the polysaccharide. Starch means polysaccharide has to be digested into monosaccharide. Fine, that is glucose. The fats have to be digested into fatty acid and glycerol. Very fine. Okay, digestion is done, but it is not this simple. It goes through steps. Different enzymes play very important roles in this process. Okay, so that you have to be very thorough with where this digestion is taking place. Amylase, I have already mentioned, in the mouth. It starts the conversion of polysaccharide into disaccharide. That is the maltose. Okay, then in the stomach, the acid, gastric juice, and the HCl and gastric juice is there. So gastric juice is secreting pepsin, which is converting proteins into peptides and peptodes. Okay, so it has started the digestion of protein, and in the small intestine, the pancreatic juice is coming with its enzymes, pancreatic enzymes. The bile is also coming through the bile duct. So what is happening there? Pancreatic enzymes are also helping in the digestion of the ingredients. So the proteins, fats, and your disaccharides, that is the semi-digested starch. But this digestion will be completed where? In the small intestine. Okay, so in the small intestine, the semi-digested food will be, that is the chyme, will be completely digested. Now, so this disaccharide, which is the maltose, in the presence of maltase in the intestinal juice, Maltase is an enzyme will be converted into glucose, simple sugar, that is monosaccharide. Okay. Now, if the lactose is there from the milk, in the presence of lactase, it will be converted into glucose and galactose, right? So, like this, all these disaccharides will be converted into monosaccharide, that is glucose. Okay. Now, these peptides will be finally converted into amino acids, right, by the enzymes trypsin. Okay, and finally the fatty acids will be formed. How? Because of the complete digestion of the fat, So this is the complete digestion of fat, which will be turned into fatty acid and glycerol. First of all, these glycerides, these are called glycerides. So monoglycerides and diglycerides will be converted finally into fatty acids and glycerol in the intestine. Okay. So glycerides are the fats. Okay, and glycerides are the starch. This you have to remember. The polysaccharide is starch, disaccharide is maltose, and monosaccharide is glucose. Like this, there are monoglycerides also, diglycerides also. Step by step, fat is also being digested, and it is finally digested into fatty acids and glycerol, and proteins finally into amino acids. Okay. So first of all, like fats will in a book it has been given very clearly. Fats, lipase will act on fats and it will convert it into diglycerides. Okay, and then into monoglycerides, and finally monoglycerides will be converted into fatty acids and glycerol. Okay. Polysaccharides, as I already said, will be converted into by the enzyme into disaccharide, maltose, and then finally in the intestine into glucose. This monosaccharide, that is glucose. So this I have already mentioned, students. So just go through this chapter, you will be very clearly informed, and it will help you to remember. So absorption I have already discussed. Just go through these pages, you will understand clearly, and it is very clearly given in a chart. Absorption, which absorption is taking place in the large intestine. What happens? The water content is absorbed. The water is absorbed. Some minerals and drugs also are absorbed in the large intestine. And small intestine, as I said, all this digestion is completed in the absorption is completed in the small intestine. Digestion is completed here, and the final products of digestion, such as glucose, fructose, fatty acids, glycerol, and amino acids, are absorbed through the mucosa into the bloodstream and lymph. So the absorbed fatty acid and glycerol will go to the lymphatic system in the lymph, and other digested ingredients will go to the blood. So through the mucosa, right? Mucosa is the layer, as I had mentioned. Mucosa is a layer of the walls of the alimentary canal, so that helps in the absorption process. Okay. In the stomach, what are the things which are absorbed? Absorption of water, simple sugars, and alcohol, etc. takes place, right? So mainly, in the stomach, this absorption is taking place. Of what? Simple sugars, alcohol, etc. Right? In the mouth, as we had already seen, certain drugs coming in contact with the mucosa of mouth. In the entire alimentary canal, mucosa is there. Side by side, sugars are absorbed into the blood capillaries lining them in the mucosa. So blood capillaries are always everywhere, right? So like this, this you have to remember the sites of absorption also. And now, what are the irregularities of or disorders of digestive system? It's very simple. If digestion, the enzymes are not working properly, digestion will not take place. So indigestion will take place. If the peristaltic movement of the mucosa is disturbed, then what will happen? The reverse will take place and vomiting will occur. And diarrhea also, what will happen? How diarrhea will happen? Diarrhea means what? Diarrhea means continuous, the coming out of the liquid feces. Okay. The abnormal frequency of bowel movement causes diarrhea, right? Fecal discharge is known as diarrhea, continuous fecal discharge. Okay, and jaundice, some infection in the liver. Liver is affected, skin and eyes turn yellow due to the deposit of the bile pigments. And bile pigments are being deposited. So naturally there is a malfunction of the liver, maybe because of some infection, viral infection, that is called jaundice. Okay, so these are the common disorders, students, that you have to remember also in this chapter, right? So, dietary deficiency of proteins and total food calories are widespread in many underdeveloped countries. So, this is also a very major concern. Okay. So, protein energy malnutrition is called PEM, PEM, protein energy malnutrition. You have studied earlier also that when small children in some area of the world are not getting the mother's milk, they are not getting the protein adequately, then the disorder takes place. So below 1 year, if it is happening, along with the deficiency of carbohydrate, the protein and carbohydrate, then the disorder is called marasmus. So the child does not develop properly and cannot survive also. And above 1 year, if it is happening, the deficiency of protein causes a disorder which is Kwashiorkor. So that is also a disorder. So here mentioned in your book also Kwashiorkor. What exactly it is? The pronunciation is Kwashiorkor. Okay. So this is the disorders because of protein deficiency, protein energy malnutrition, which is called PEM. So that is marasmus and Kwashiorkor. Okay. So students, I think I have covered the important areas. So please go through the points in the book and you will be very thoroughly equipped with all these information, and it will help you, I am sure. So if you like my videos, if it is benefiting you, please subscribe to my channel. That will encourage me to work more and more in this field, in this area. So thank you very much. God bless you all.